Zhiyu is increasingly curious about her benefactor, wondering who the benefactor who stole her life could be. Charlie knows that Changfeng isn't going abroad, he's just deceiving people. Changfeng is going to Suhang and will likely approach Ragnar Wu's family in Suzhou. Patient viewers, please follow this story to the end. Thank you.
Chapter 2525. Ziyu's inspiration suddenly appeared, so that Liona was also stunned. She nodded in agreement and said, "Since this benefactor wants to properly settle us and strictly guard the secret that we are still alive, then he will not just place us in a hotel that doesn't matter. Besides, he has sent so many people at the door. This hotel is likely his property as you said. Even if it is not, then he and this hotel should have a deep relationship." Zhiyu nodded and ran to the desk in the living room of the suite with some excitement, and opened the drawer in it. Generally, hotels will put some letter paper for guests to write on their desks, and the name of the hotel will be printed on it. When she saw the words, Aurous Hill Shangrila Hotel, above the letter paper, she couldn't help exclaiming, "Mom! The hotel we are in is called Shangri-La. I remember, Shangri-La seems to be the property of the Wade family." Liona was horrified at once. Shangri-La. Could it be? Is it really him? Originally, Liona had also thought about whether the benefactor in her daughter's mouth was Changying Wade's son. But she also overturned her own guess. After all, Changying's son went missing in the early years, and he had not returned to Wade's house. It is unlikely that a fallen master who has fallen outside has such a powerful ability. But now, when she heard that the hotel she was in was Shangri-La, she immediately began to doubt it again. Here, Zhiyu saw her mother in shock, and even said him, so she subconsciously asked, "Mom, do you know what? Who are you talking about?" Liona came back to her senses and said with a complicated expression, "Actually, there is also a young man in the Wade family who has been missing for many years." Zhiyu suddenly realized, and blurted out, "Mom, what you said should be the son of Uncle Wade's." Liona checked her head and said calmly, "Yes, it's him." As a woman, Zhiyu knows her mother's heart very well. She knew that her mother had always loved Changying for so many years. It could be said that she was extremely infatuated with Changying. Even if Changying had been dead for nearly 20 years, her mother still missed him. Because of this, her mother came to Aurous Hill after learning the fact that her father had derailed, and assassination attempt was made because she wanted to buy Changying's former residence. Liona did not hide anything from her daughter, so she was not surprised when Zhiyu mentioned it. Zhiyu asked in surprise, "Mom, didn't that Uncle Wade's son disappear after Uncle Wade's death? I remember it seems that the Wade family never found his whereabouts. How do you think he is the benefactor?" Liona counted and nodded and said seriously, "In your old Uncle Wade's house that day, I saw a boy who looked almost exactly the same as your Uncle Wade when he was young. He looked like 6 or 7 years older than you. How old are you?" "About the same age as your brother, and the age is very similar to your Uncle Wade's son." Zhiyu couldn't help asking, could it be a coincidence? After all, there are still many people who look alike. "No," Liona said seriously. "If everything is really just a coincidence, most of it will only happen in one dimension. For example, if you meet someone who looks very similar to me by chance, this is normal. It is normal to meet someone who looks very similar to your Uncle Wade." But, when Liona said this, her tone and expression were a bit serious, and she continued, "However, I unexpectedly met this young man in Aurous Hill. Your Uncle Wade was killed in Aurous Hill, and his son also disappeared in Aurous Hill, so this is the second coincidence. Also, not only did I meet him in Aurous Hill, but I also met him at the gate of your Uncle Wade's former residence. If he has nothing to do with your Uncle Wade, why did he appear there?" Zhiyu was silent for a moment, nodded, and said seriously, "Mom, I think your analysis makes sense. The young man you saw at the gate of Uncle Wade's former residence is very likely to be Uncle Wade's son." Speaking of this, Ziyu's conversation turned around and said, "Mom, Uncle Wade's son, if he had disappeared in Aurous Hill that year, he had been in Aurous Hill. So the one you saw may indeed be Uncle Wade's son, but Wade Uncle's son may not be the benefactor. Do you have any clear evidence of this?" Liona shook her head and said, "I don't have any direct evidence. After all, I haven't seen the benefactor you mentioned so far. However, since the benefactor arranged this in the Wade family hotel, then I believe that he must have a deep relationship with the Wade family. Zhiyu fell into deep thought, and muttered, if it is like what you said, Uncle Wade's son is the benefactor, then he has been alone in Aurous Hill for so many years, how can he be so helpful? Is there such a strong strength? It doesn't make sense. A master like this can't be cultivated even by a top martial arts family. You see that the He family is so powerful, and they cultivated Ruoli wholeheartedly, but Ruoli's strength is tens of thousands of miles away from the ninjas who kidnapped me in Japan. I guess Ruoli is barely able to win, and 1 to 2 will undoubtedly lose at best. Liona smiled slightly. I can't say this, but my instinct tells me that the benefactor you are looking for is likely to be him. Zhiyu sighed, and said, but I still don't understand. If benefactor is really Uncle Wade's son, then he should hate the Su family. After all, it was Dad who came forward to do it. In the anti-Wade alliance, the Su family has been unable to live with the Wade family for so many years, how could he save us? Especially my brother and I, both of us are named Su, for him, we are the children of the enemy. Liona shook her head, I don't think about these questions, but I believe that sooner or later, I will figure it out. After all, this benefactor did not save us and put us behind him. He settled us here, which is equivalent to him already maintaining a bond with us. I believe it won't be long before he will reveal the true face of himself. Zhiyu couldn't help getting a little excited, and muttered to herself in a low voice, my benefactor has saved our family of 3 so many times. If I can see him, I will definitely be a cow and a horse in my life to repay his kindness. With that said, in her expression, she couldn't help showing a bit of the shyness and fascination that the girls have for their sweetheart. She is not to blame. Any woman who has gone through life and death 2 times, and the same face saved her twice, I am afraid that she will feel good in her heart. What's more, after Zhiyu returned from Japan, she has been obsessed with Charlie. This time, she not only saw Charlie, but was also rescued by Charlie, and even Charlie saved her mother with her. This has completely captured the proud young girl's heart. Liona looked at her daughter's eyes and couldn't help thinking of the young man she saw outside the door of Changying's former residence. When she thinks of him, she can't help but think of the love of her life, Changying. For a moment, her eyes suddenly filled with tears, and she sighed in her heart. Zhiyu, this girl, I am afraid that she has already been moved by the benefactor. If she finds a son who is really Wade's, it is really fate. When Charlie settled Liona and Zhiyu mother and daughter in the Shangrila Hotel, he did not expect that the hotel would reveal his identity to a certain extent. After he posted the video on the internet last night, he did not pay much attention to this matter. Because he knew that this video would definitely drag Changfeng and the entire Su family into the quagmire of the whole People's Crusade. And he posted the video to the short video platform acquired by the Wade family so that there is no need to worry that the Su family will turn this video off. Because for the Wade family, no matter how much money they gave, it would be impossible for them to do business with Uncle Su's family. Zhongquan Wade would never miss this opportunity to humiliate and attack the Su family. When Charlie got up in the morning, Claire was still asleep. Charlie got out of bed gently to wash, and when he came to the first floor, Elaine was already cooking with crutches. Although Elaine had broken her leg, she was very active during this period. As long as it was housework within her ability, she did not shirk at all. At this time, Elaine was watching with gusto while holding her mobile phone, while guarding the egg fried rice in the wok, and under the armpit of her right arm was an aluminum crutch. Hearing Charlie coming downstairs, she hurriedly recovered and said with joy, "Oh, my son-in-law, come and see, we have something serious in Aurous Hill." Charlie had basically guessed what she was talking about after hearing her words. However, he still pretended to be curious and asked, "Mom, what's the matter?" Elaine said solemnly, "Do you know that Eastcliff has a very powerful family? The family name is Su." Charlie nodded. "Oh, I've heard of it." Elaine hurriedly said, "This old man from the Su family is so fu king puss and shit that he hired someone to kill his daughter-in-law. Do you think this guy is AB1TCH? Charlie smiled and said, "I heard you say that this old thing named Su is really a SC and MBAG. No more." Elaine gritted her teeth and said, "Everyone can get it. Now the law is civilized, otherwise, it will be left in feudal society. Such old things must be too late." Good son-in-law, do you know Ling Kai? It's just that the executioner used a knife to scratch him constantly, just like a Western chef slices ham on TV. He slices a thin slice at a time and keeps a slice of $3,000 to $5,000. He breathes. Charlie saw that Elaine was almost crushing her mouthful of teeth, and he couldn't help but curiously asked, "Mom, why are you so emotional?" Elaine said annoyedly, "When I saw this Fu King news, I thought of that It starred grandma at first. That dead old woman was just as bad as this dead old man named Sue. Mn, when she was in the detention center, do you know how cruel her heart was? The old thing couldn't walk steadily. When hitting me, they were still struggling to kill me, wishing to beat me to death in the detention center. These two old things are so bad to their daughter-in-law, they are simply a pair of dog men and women who are angry at the same time." Charlie didn't expect that Elaine thought of Mrs. Wilson through what Elder Sue did, and he was speechless for a while. At this time, Elaine couldn't help but sighed, and said, "I just feel sorry for this woman named Liona. I think she must be a good woman who is as kind-hearted and smart as I am, but God does not have eyes, we are so good. A woman just can't meet a good mother-in-law and a good father-in-law." Charlie was embarrassed and felt serious nausea. Liona is definitely the top celebrity in the noblewoman circle after being a famous gate in Eastcliff anyway. In any respect, she is stronger than Elaine by tens of thousands, but Elaine is so bold to say that she is the same as Liona, which shows that she has thick skin with no edge. But Charlie didn't bother to tell her more, so he smiled and said, "Mom, you are busy first, I will go to the yard to get some air." Although Elaine was still filled with righteous indignation, when she heard this, she hurriedly said with a smile, "Good son-in-law, you can wear more clothes. It's cold outside today. It is good." Charlie came out of the house and called Isaac in the yard. As soon as the phone was connected, Isaac's voice came over, "Master." Charlie asked, "Old man, how is your situation there?" Isaac hurriedly said, "Master, the executive floor of the hotel is still strictly guarded. Except for my confidant, even ordinary waiters and security guards are not allowed to approach. As for Ms. Liona and Ms. Sue, my staff just gave me feedback. Miss Sue wanted to see you and inquire about your identity, but my people didn't disclose it and asked them to stay in the room. They just sent them some breakfast. In addition, I received a message that the old man Changfeng had fled Eastcliff overnight. The plane departed from Eastcliff Airport and flew east to the high seas, then circled the southern part of the Taiwan Strait, and then went all the way north. It was around 6 o'clock. After landing in Suzhou, the flight trajectory of the plane was like a big fish hook. Charlie asked curiously, why did he go to Suzhou making such a big circle? Is it because he is afraid that others will discover his true track? Yes. Isaac laughed. Some media don't know the situation. They only know that his plane took off from Eastcliff and flew east out of the country. They thought he had fled to Japan to avoid the limelight. Charlie said with a smile. He ran to Suhong, probably not just to avoid the limelight. Suhong is so close to Aurous Hill, I think he still misses Aurous Hill. I think so too. Isaac said seriously. The Su family has a bit of influence in Suzhou, and Master Su's command of Aurous Hill's side is also considered to be on the front line led by himself. Charlie immediately ordered, "Hurry up and call Regnar to Aurous Hill, otherwise Changfeng will probably find him to understand the situation after he gets over. Although Regnar is surrendered now, he has eaten a lot in my hands. Unfortunately, maybe he will take this opportunity to take refuge in the Su family to fight me." Isaac suddenly realized, and blurted out, "Oh, why did I forget Regnar?" With the acting style of the old fox like Changfeng, when he arrives in Suzhou, he will first sort out all the uncertain factors in Suzhou first, and then plan again. Maybe I will summon Regnar this morning." Charlie smiled and said, "It shouldn't be so fast." Changfeng definitely didn't worry less last night. He took a big circle in the plane and probably didn't have any thoughts to rest. The plane just landed more than 2 hours ago. Going to the place where he is staying, I guess he will probably have to make up his sleep first this morning. When he wakes up, he may first take a look at the situation in Suzhou. So, you call Regnar directly now and say that I am looking for him in a hurry, and ask him and his eldest son to come by helicopter immediately. In this case, it should not be too late. Furthermore, Changfeng's trip to Suzhou is so low-key, the Wu family certainly won't know his message now. Isik hurriedly said, "Okay, master, then I will call Regnar now." When Regnar was still asleep, he was woken up by Isik on the phone. On the phone, Isik told Regnar that Charlie asked him to take Roger to Aurous Hill immediately by helicopter. Regnar dared not delay, got up quickly, took his son straight to Aurous Hill. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Regnar's helicopter approached Isaac's hotel gradually. As the helicopter continued to descend, Regnar couldn't help but remember the scene of the father and son being shot directly by Isaac's people last time here. That time was the most humiliating day of Regnar's life. Not only broken limbs but also very humiliating sentences were engraved on their foreheads and beaten badly by the men here. Looking back at that moment, Regnar's fist was clenched involuntarily. However, he suddenly thought of the 8 heavenly kings buried at the foot of Changying mountain. Thinking of the tragic death of the 8 heavenly kings, he couldn't help fighting a cold war. It was precisely because of the death of the 8 great kings that he realized one of the most crucial facts: Charlie had enough strength to kill him, even his whole family. The 8 great heavenly kings took their own orders against Charlie. Charlie killed them but didn't take his life. This was already his own good fortune. In addition, he now knew Charlie's true identity, so he became a little more afraid of him. At this time, Roger beside him said with some worry, "Dad, what do you think Charlie is looking for with us?" Regnar hurriedly scolded, "As Dollar Hole, can you call Master Wade's name directly?" Roger said aggrievedly, "Dad, isn't this just a private talk? Why are you so sensitive?" Regnar blurted out, "I'm afraid you are not stupid. What is the identity of Master Wade? Young Master Wade is the top master. He can kill the 8 heavenly kings by himself. Don't provoke him, even if you call him by his name. It's easy for him to get angry." Roger curled his lips. "Dad, are you not a little too sensitive?" "Sensitive?" Regnar asked him back, "Have you watched the video on the short video platform yesterday?" "No," Roger said. "Since the incident of your brother and Lu Guang and Lu Ming's 2B at Starred Cross talks were transmitted to the short video platform, I stopped the video from the platform, but he received the news. Pushed it, you probably know the whole story." Hearing Roger mentioning Wu Qi and Lu Guang and Lu Ming, Regnar couldn't help feeling a little bit in his heart. He held back his anger and asked him, "Then you think, besides Master Wade, who else has the ability and courage in Aurous Hill? Dare to directly tie up the second son of the Su family?" Roger thought for a while, his expression couldn't help but said nervously, "This. Dad, according to you, the second son of the Su family was tied up by the son of Wade's." Regnar said, "In my opinion, in the entire Aurous Hill, only Master Wade has the ability to do it. No one except him. I'm going." Roger couldn't help exclaiming, "Why did young Master Wade suddenly act on the Su family? Isn't it about declaring war with them?" Regnar shook his head. "I don't know exactly why, but as far as I know, the Wade family and the Su family have always had feuds. Maybe he wants to avenge his father." Roger shrank his neck and sighed. The Master Wade acting style is too fierce. As soon as the second young master of the Su family arrived in Aurous Hill, he was tied up. He is not afraid of revenge after the Su family finds him. Quote, Regnar said earnestly, "Judging from his ability to kill the 8 heavenly kings by himself, he tied the second young master of the Su family, but it was as simple as a cat catching a mouse for him." As he said, Regnar said again, "If the Su family really goes against Master Wade, maybe Master Wade can kill Changfeng himself. With his patience, it will not be impossible for him in China to kill all the Su family one by one. I think the reason why he still keeps this old guy alive is like a cat catching a mouse but not eating it. The main reason is not to eat the mouse, but to play with him and torture him." Roger couldn't help but panic. Seeing him pale, Regnar reminded him sternly, "I will see young master later, and you must give him enough respect and keep your posture to the lowest level. I won't let you talk, you don't want to say anything, do you understand?" Roger nodded hurriedly, "I know Dad." The helicopter landed on the roof of the hotel, and Isik was already waiting here. Regnar took Roger off the plane, and hurriedly walked to Isik, and said respectfully, "Mr. Isik, I should bother you to greet you personally. I am not really flattered." With that said, he gave Roger a color and said, "Won't you say hello to President Isik?" Roger hurriedly said, "Hello, Mr. Isaac." Isaac nodded and said, "You two come with me. Master is already waiting in my office." Ragnar hurriedly followed behind Isaac and came to Isaac's office on the top floor of the hotel. At this moment, Charlie was standing with his hand in front of the glass window of the office. After Isaac brought the people in, Ragnar hurried forward, stepped forward, respectfully said, "Hello, Master." Roger also learned something, respectfully saying, "Master Wade is great." Charlie nodded slightly and said, "Ragnar, do you know why I am looking for you today?" Ragnar couldn't help but shook his head and said, "Young master, I really don't know what you were looking for, please tell me." Charlie said indifferently, "I saved the Su family's eldest daughter-in-law and eldest granddaughter yesterday, and then tied Shoud, the second son of the Su family, with my hands. You should have seen these things in the news, right?" Ragnar's body was shocked, and he hurriedly said, "Master, we already know what you said." Charlie gave a hum and continued, "Early this morning, Changfeng, the head of the Su family, went quietly to Suhong. I guess, this time he wants to go to Suhong to hide from the limelight, but also wants to use Suhong as a frontline position to come to Aurous Hill. Investigate these matters, especially the whereabouts of his second son." Ragnar asked hurriedly, "Master, are you going to declare war with the Su family?" Charlie smiled and said, "Declare war? Declaring war is boring. The Su family has always liked to play evil, so naturally, I will not tell them." Ragnar took a step forward on the sea and said with a fist, "Young master, if there is anything that can be used up or down, please let me know." Charlie nodded and said, "There is something, I really need your help." Ragnar hurriedly said, "Master, please tell me." Charlie said, "I guess that Changfeng will take the initiative to contact Suzhou Hangzhou local big families this time, including your Wu family. They may ask you about the situation in Aurous Hill or throw an olive branch at you. Let you become an affiliated family of the Su family and work for them." Ragnar hurriedly stated, "You can rest assured, Mr. Wade, I, Ragnar, will look after your head and will never contact the Su family in any form." Charlie waved his hand. "Don't, I just need you to establish contact with the Su family." In Charlie's view, the Su family is now in a critical crisis, coupled with the fact that they are being cast aside by the people of the whole country, so they must urgently need to add new assistants to their camp. Moreover, it happened that Changfeng had gone to Suhong now, so Charlie speculated that he would most likely take the initiative to win over Ragnar Wu and turn him into a dog of the Su family. In the eyes of the Su family before, people like Ragnar couldn't get into their eyes. Even if he ran to Eastcliff himself, Changfeng would not give him a chance to meet. However, this time is different. The Su family is now isolated and helpless. Whether it is in Eastcliff or Suzhou, they must win over as many new teammates as possible. Therefore, Charlie wanted Ragnar to be his undercover agent to see what Changfeng intends to do. When Ragnar heard this, he immediately understood what Charlie meant. However, his heart is quite worried. Charlie asked me to go undercover next to Sus house, isn't this just sending me as cannon fodder? If the Su family finds out, why won't they fix my Wu family to death? The Wu family's strength was already a lot worse than the Su family, and after returning to Charlie, they paid a lot of shares. Now the family's strength is almost cut in half. How can it withstand the Su family's toss? Charlie also saw his worries, and said lightly, "Ragnar, I always reward and punish for things. If you do things beautifully this time, I will never treat you badly in the future, and you can rest assured that I am here. Su family can't do anything to you." Ragnar is still a little tangled in his heart. After all, he didn't know Charlie's so-called not treating him badly, what benefits he could give him. And he didn't know, if the Su family really had to deal with him, would Charlie question his life and death. Seeing that he was still hesitating, Charlie said lightly, "Ragnar, how about this? If you help me get this thing done, then I will help you cure your son's disease. What do you think?" Ragnar subconsciously said, "Master, my two sons, they have some unspeakable hidden illnesses, you can really cure them." Wu Qi was given a psychological hint by Charlie. Almost no one in the country knew about the fact that he had to eat extra meals every hour, while Roger Wu had his leg broken before, although he is better now. But he became a lame man, and he could not fully recover in this life. Charlie sneered and said, "What's your son's condition? Orville almost died at the hands of your men at the beginning. Didn't I save him in the end? Yes. Ragnar's spirit was immediately lifted. He knew that his men had gone to Classical Mansion to kill Orville and Charlie's old father-in-law, seeing that Orville was about to die in his hands, but Charlie rescued him with a rejuvenating pill, which was incredible. Therefore, he couldn't help but secretly thought, if Charlie is really willing to help, whether it is Roger's legs or Wu Chi's hidden illnesses who has to eat shish tea meals every hour, it can be cured. So he asked excitedly, Master, do you really mean this? Charlie nodded and smiled, of course. Ragnar hurriedly said, my eldest son, he has been limping, and the younger son's mental problem has gone wrong again. Can you cure it? At this moment, Roger, who stood by his side and dared not speak, couldn't help but get excited. Charlie smiled and said, no cure is an impossible cure, but I have to put it first. If you help me do this well, I can help you cure one of the problems with your two sons. As soon as these words came out, Ragnar's expression was a little disappointed, and he thought to himself, only one can be cured. Charlie, this guy made it clear that he wants to hang me with the sons. However, it is better to cure one than to cure none at all. He really felt sorry for his little son. If he had a chance to cure his illness, it would really make up for his huge regret. So he immediately agreed and said, you can rest assured, Master Wade, I will go all out to complete the task you entrusted to me. Charlie smiled slightly, looked at the time, and said, okay, you two should go back quickly. Once the Sioux family finds you, let me know as soon as possible. Ragnar hurriedly said, okay, Master Wade. Charlie looked at Isaac and ordered, old man, see off the guests. Isaac pointed to the door immediately, made a gesture of please, and smiled, Mr. Wu, please. Ragnar hurriedly said to Charlie respectfully, young Master Wade, then I will go back now. After all, he took Roger and carefully exited the room. Isaac sent the father and son to the tarmac on the roof of the building. After the father and son got on the plane, Roger hurriedly said, Dad, if this matter is over, you must let Charlie heal my leg. Quote, Ragnar said without hesitation, except for your leg being a little lame now, there is basically nothing wrong with it, but your brother is still tortured every day, of course, he must be treated first. Roger was anxious, and blurted out, Dad, I am the eldest son of the Wu family. If I am limping on one leg in my life, where should I put the Wu family's face? Ragnar sternly said, then have you ever thought about your brother? Have you ever thought about how he has been able to survive for so long? Roger was also a little anxious and quickly said, my brother has been used to it for so long. I went to see him in his room yesterday and happened to meet someone serving him to eat. He didn't show any pain. The whole process was normal. It's like a chronically ill patient taking medicine. As he said, Roger couldn't help saying, moreover, I shouldn't say something. The shame of my brother has already been completely lost. Even if he is cured, it is impossible to save ourselves from the Wu family's loss of reputation. After the younger brother is cured, will you let your younger brother come out to take over the family affairs? If that is the case, as soon as he appears in the outside world, outsiders will point him and say that he was eating that thing before and it spread all over the country. In that case, the reputation of our Wu family will be hit twice. But I'm different, Dad. I am the future heir of the Wu family and the future business card of the Wu family. If I appear in front of the public every time, I am a limping man walking, then the Wu family's face will also be damaged. But if I can recover from the beginning and become a normal person, then I can appear in front of the public with a perfect image that is innocent enough and without any black history. When the time comes, our father and son will work together, and we will surely let the Wu family recreate the scenery before. Roger's words completely moved Ragnar. As a father, he felt that his second son Wu Chi was even more pitiful. But as the head of the family, he finally realized that if he had the opportunity to cure any of the two brothers, he had to choose his eldest son Roger, which was a more cost-effective thing. As Roger said, Wu Chi left an extremely deep impression on the people of the whole country before. This impression can be said to be unforgettable. So, even if you take this opportunity to bring Wu Chi back to normal, as long as he appears in the public's field of vision, it will awaken the unforgettable memory of him. After all, he can't go around explaining after healed that he doesn't need to eat that kind of food anymore. Want to understand this level, Ragnar also accepted Roger's proposal. So, he said, Roger, we can do this to Charlie's satisfaction. Then let him heal your leg first. If there is a chance in the future, maybe we can also ask him to give Wuqi a cure. Roger couldn't hide his excitement and said, yes, Dad. As long as we follow Charlie and do more for him, maybe he will give us a chance to heal Wuqi. Ragnar nodded and exhorted, Roger, you must keep this matter secret to everyone. You must never tell it, otherwise, if your brother knows about it, he will definitely hate me. Roger said hurriedly, Dad, don't worry. I won't say a word even if he kills me. Ragnar sighed, hey, if your brother doesn't have a chance to heal in the future, you are an older brother, you must take good care of him. Roger said firmly, Dad, don't worry. Actually, they already considered it. When we get through this difficult period, and when Wuqi's mood stabilizes, we can. Think about it. He will be sent abroad. When he arrives abroad, he can change his identity and start again, so that there will not be so much psychological pressure. It is best to go to a country with fewer Chinese. This is even better for him. Ragnar was silent for a moment and nodded softly. He also knew that Roger did this to send his younger brother out so that he could dominate the entire Wu family. Although there were some disappointments and losses in his heart, he did not show it. He grew up in a wealthy family, so he understands the conflicts between the wealthy brothers too well. Among the wealthy, there are few real brotherly affections. In contrast, tens of billions or even hundreds of billions of assets are what they value most. Roger wanted to send his younger brother abroad, not out of concern for his brother. He just hopes that he will never suffer from future troubles. Ragnar didn't point it out, but he said softly with emotion, Roger, it's not easy for your brother. You, as an older brother, must take care of him a little bit. Let's not say anything else, at least to protect him for the rest of his life worry-free. When Roger heard this, he immediately knew that his father understood his intention. So he said without hesitation, Dad, don't worry, I will take care of him for the rest of my life. When Ragnar and his son returned to Suzhou, Changfeng also woke up from his sleep. After waking up, he immediately called the butler over and asked about the current progress of the matter. The steward replied truthfully, Master, the influence of video is still expanding. Now it has gradually spread from China to overseas. The overall public opinion situation is extremely detrimental to the family. Besides, Elijah Du from the Du family has made no less than 10 calls. I didn't dare to answer. Several leaders of Eastcliff also called for questioning. They were very angry about this matter and asked the Su family to give a clear solution. I excused that you were ill and temporarily delayed, but they want you to give a clear statement within 24 hours. Changfeng couldn't help sighing, gritted his teeth, and said, the short video platform is in the hands of the Wade family. I think it is impossible to engage in public relations. As for the Du family, we don't have to care about him. Elijah can do whatever he wants. I won't see him, the big deal is I won't see him in my life. The butler hurriedly asked, Master, that leader. Changfeng sighed, this is what I worry about the most. That shred actually strapped explosives to take hostages. The impact of this kind of thing is really bad. Now it's all exposed. I have to carry the pot. As he said, Changfeng calmed down and said, you give my feedback to the leaders, saying that I am recovering from illness abroad, and when my body improves slightly, I will immediately go to them and ask them for forgiveness. Okay, Master. Changfeng rubbed his temples, and asked a little bit weakly, by the way, which family has the strongest overall strength in Suhong? The steward said seriously, the Wu family should be the strongest, but a lot of things happened to them some time ago, and their strength is lost by nearly half. They were originally the first family in the south, but now they are no longer in the top 3. Changfeng nodded and said, the Su family has been focusing on the overseas market for the past few years, and has not deeply plowed the domestic market. Now is the time to quickly regain the domestic market and network resources, and I may want to stay in Suzhou for a long time. It is more convenient to get acquainted with the big local family. It is better to use this Wu family for our own use. With that, he asked, by the way, when will Xin land? The butler checked the time and said, Master should land around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Changfeng gave a hum, and said, "In this way, you will meet the Wu family on my behalf, and tell them that the Su family wants to invite them over for dinner at night, but don't reveal my identity. Don't let people know that I am in Suzhou, do you understand?" The housekeeper immediately nodded and said, "Understood, sir. I'm going to contact the Wu family." At the same time, Zin was flying over the Western Pacific in a private jet. Although he didn't close his eyes overnight, he was a little excited. And Zhifei, lying in his car in a complicated mood, had 3 pictures constantly rotating in his mind. The first picture is Liona, his mother in the car accident. The second picture is the younger sister Zhiyu, who was also in the car accident. The third picture is the self after becoming the head of the Su family. Originally, these 3 pictures were one after another, and one after another, they were considered evenly matched. However, with the passage of time, the first 2 pictures gradually became a little thin, and the third picture began to firmly occupy the main position. After talking on the phone with his father Zin, Zhifei discovered that the position of Su family patriarch, and the huge wealth that can be controlled by this position, was too strong a temptation for him. With a wave of the hand, he can command a superfamily with assets of more than 1 trillion. This feeling of pointing the country is simply the ultimate power that all businessmen desire. He analyzed the current situation carefully, and he couldn't help feeling more excited, because he felt in his heart, the second uncle has disappeared, and grandpa's reputation is completely stinking on the street. In this way, the possibility of the father inheriting the Su family is much greater. My father only has 1 son, which means that my chances of becoming the Su family patriarch in the future are much greater. In order to win over Regnar Wu, Mr. Isigfeng Su asked his housekeeper to directly take gifts to visit Wu's house. The chief butler of the Su family has the same qualifications and status as Leon, and even worse. Moreover, the chief steward represents not only himself but also the head of the family, Changfeng. Therefore, let the steward visit Wu in person. It definitely gives the Wu family face. Changfeng attached great importance to the win over the Wu family, so he asked his butler to visit him on his behalf. Changfeng also knew very well that he had become a rat crossing the street right now, and it was impossible for him to return to Eastcliff in a short time. So he must be prepared to stay in Suzhou for a long time. This incident gave him the feeling that it was a period of history when the British and French forces invaded Eastcliff in 1860 and the Qing Emperor Xuanfeng hurriedly fled to Ri. When the British and French forces invaded Eastcliff, Emperor Xuanfeng fled in a panic like him. However, the fate of the emperor was a bit miserable. He waited hard for a year in Ri and didn't have the chance to return to the capital. As a result, he died in the 2nd year after escaping to Ri. He was only 31 years old. In order not to repeat the latter of Xuanfeng, Changfeng had already made a comprehensive plan for himself from the moment he fled Eastcliff. When he came to Suzhou, he wanted to quietly establish a foothold here. Not only would he bring all the top local families in Suzhou over, but also quickly transfer the industries of the Su family across the country to Suzhou to consolidate the family's presence in Suzhou. He wanted to make this city the second base camp of the Su family. In addition, he also wanted to hold his eldest son Zin Su up again and let him serve as the acting chairman of the entire Su group. Once Zin becomes the acting chairman of the board, it means that he has been formally established as the prince of the Su family. This will not only allow Zin to adhere to him honestly but also reduce the outside world's attention to him to a certain extent. What he thought was to draw Zin over, let him be his own puppet, and show his face in the public, while he hides in Suhong to listen to politics, so as to ensure that his power will not be weakened by Zin. The entire Su family has been in the hands of Changfeng for so many years. Whether it is the shares of the group, the voting rights and veto rights of the board of directors, and the management rights of family trust funds, all of them are in Changfeng's hands alone. Therefore, as long as he does not transfer these rights, even if Zin sits on the position of acting chairman, he cannot have any real power, let alone take this opportunity to seek usurpation. Moreover, Changfeng is extremely exquisite. He has already made a will. Once he dies, all the property of the entire Su family will be automatically handed over to the trust fund established by the Swiss Bank for Management. The property of more than 1 trillion, any one of the Su family the children have no right to call, they can only receive living expenses from the trust fund every month in accordance with the rules set by Changfeng. As for the standard of living expenses, Changfeng also set it early. Each of his sons and daughters can receive 10 million per month, and his spouse can receive 5 million per month, his grandchildren can receive 6 million per month, his spouse can receive 3 million a month. If the grandson has heirs, each heir can receive 2 million a month before the age of 18. Counting it down, if Changfeng didn't change his will before his death, after his death, the entire Su family's juniors would receive 2 to 3 billion in living expenses in 1 month. However, the Su family's assets exceed 1 trillion, and its monthly net profit exceeds 10 billion. No one is eligible to use the remaining money, so it can only be put into the trust fund for profit. It seems that it is very unfair to these children and grandchildren of Xin because even if they continue to receive living expenses until they die, the Su family will have more money. However, Changfeng had his own plan for the reason why he was so determined. First of all, this will is here, which is Changfeng's amulet. Because no heir of the Su family would have the intention of murdering Changfeng. The reason is that once Changfeng is dead, not only will they not be able to inherit the position of patriarch, but their income will be greatly reduced. Originally, a family can earn tens of billions a year, and they can also get a lot of other resource support from the family, but once the father dies, everyone lies down and receive the dead wages. The family can receive several 100 million as a big deal, and it shrinks 10 times, even tens or hundreds of times. Chapter 2536. And this will, in addition to the role of amulets, is also equivalent to family insurance. The ancient emperors were worried about the faint monarchs and their heirs so that they would throw away the sacred land and leave the future generations without blessings. And these modern rich men are also worried that their offspring will have a prodigal, ruining the family foundation. Therefore, almost every wealthy man will set up a trust fund, and if his descendants are unwilling to succeed, they will hand over all the property to the trust fund to ensure that the descendants of the family will live forever, and they will always have money to spend. And will not lose their property. Moreover, this rule of relying on the leader for living expenses is particularly easy to stimulate the gang of children and grandchildren to multiply their offspring. Because, as long as they give birth to one heir, it is equivalent to giving birth to a meal ticket. What the head of the family is most worried about is the continuation of the incense. If this allows children and grandchildren to have more children, coupled with sufficient trust fund assets, the continuity and development of the family can be more ensured. For Changfeng, if his children and grandchildren do not satisfy him, he would not change this will until his death. But if there are very capable children and grandchildren who can gain their own trust, then there is no time to change the will when he is about to die. In this way, this old fox can firmly hold the power of the entire Su family and all the initiative in his own hands, and it is impossible for any offspring to threaten his rule over the family. Here, Ragnar and Roger have just returned home. Before the two of them sat hot, Changfeng's housekeeper came to the door. Hearing that the chief butler of the Su family came to visit, Ragnar's first thought was, "Charlie, this fellow is really amazing. As soon as I came back, this family came to the door." Thinking of this, he hurriedly said to Roger, "Son, in order to highlight the importance, you personally go outside to greet him, and invite the chief butler of the Su family to my study." Roger nodded hurriedly and walked out quickly. Ragnar straightened his collar and went to his study first. After a while, Roger walked in with a middle-aged man who was about 50 years old. As soon as this person entered the door, Ragnar greeted him immediately. Roger hurriedly introduced, "Dad, this is the chief steward of the Eastcliff Su family, Mr. Anson." Ragnar immediately said with great enthusiasm, "Oh, Mr. Anson, I have been admiring you for a long time. Please sit down, please sit down." Anson nodded slightly, and said with a little smile, "Mr. Wu, I came here today in the place of my lord, and asked Mr. Wu to come to the house for dinner." Although Ragnar had already guessed the other party's intentions, he still pretended to be flattered and said excitedly, "Mr. Su is going to invite me to dinner. Is this true?" "Of course." Anson smiled slightly and said, "I wonder if Mr. Wu has time tonight." Ragnar said without hesitation, "Yes. Of course. Are we going to Eastcliff? If yes, I will quickly get the crew ready for flight." Anson shook his head and said with a smile, Mr. Changfeng is in Suzhou, and he wants to host a banquet at Suhong's house tonight. After speaking, he reminded him with a very serious expression, Mr. Wu, only you father and son know about the information that my master came to Suzhou. You must remember this matter and never disclose it to anyone.